Hi everyone. My name is Anirudh. Yeah, before I get started, can I get a quick show of hands of people that know what an L2 is? Perfect, right? And can I get a quick show of hands if you know what Gelato is or what Gelato does? Cool, perfect. Nice. So yeah, I'm Anirudh. I do developer relations here at Gelato. And yeah, today I'll be talking about should you be building your own L2s. And the reason for this talk and the motivation behind this talk is pretty much a couple months ago there was some FUD on Twitter that hey, it costs $40 million to run your own chain. And yeah, obviously that's not the case. But yeah, today I'm going to be walking you over and I'll be showcasing you the state of the L2s, the pros and cons of having your own L2s, and should you launch your own L2s in general, and the future of building Web3 apps. So yeah, let's get right into it. First of all, what is Gelato? So we are a roll-up as a service platform, and what that means is that customers come to us to deploy their own chain, and yeah, we work with frameworks like the OP stack, the Arbitrum Orbit stack, the Avalanche L1s, and we have our own in-house stack called the ABC stack, which is the L1 sovereign rollup stack. And pretty much we don't really just deploy the chain, we actually bundle everything together. This means that you will get your, your account abstraction SDKs, your embedded wallets, your paymaster and bundlers, your RPCs, everything you need pretty much to run your chain, to have that isolated environment that, let's say, Base or Ethereum has. So yeah, it's pretty much everything bundled up. And yeah, we provide this to you. And it's not, yeah, so basically we have our own in-house Gelato Web3 services, which we call the Gelato Relay, the functions, the VRF for randomness, the oracles for pushing on-chain prices, and then we do have a set of third-party marketplace as well. And these are basically, we work with 80 plus infrastructure providers as well to provide you with the tooling that you need. And these are out-of-the-box solutions that you can have for your chain as well. Some, let's list a few. So like Gold Sky, for example, for your indexing needs, for example, right? Then you have the Block Scout for your block explorers. Then you have Hyperlate for bridging across, route scan, tenderly. So basically we have this set of very carefully selected third-party infrastructure provider that we work with, and you can easily request them to be added to your chain as well. Right, so yeah, we are trusted by over 700 teams. We have deployed over 52 chains. We have over $600,000 in TVL across all Gelato chains. And yeah, so currently we are running the chain for Inc., managing deploying it. We also have our infrastructure deployed on Bera chain as well. We are managing and deploying the chain for Rhea, which is an Arbitrum Orbit L2 chain. It's for high throughput for one-click classless trading. And then obviously we are working with Infinex as well. I'll be talking more about that. So yeah, built on Gelato, we're working with Inc. They built an OP, so basically we're working with them on the OP superchain. And yeah, what they power is that the DeFi L2 ecosystem. So that's by Inc. Then we have Fox as well. And Fox is pretty much the use cases that they want to prove news articles, and pretty much they went with the CDK. And then we have eBay, which is using Gelato Relay under the hood for gasless luxury item authentication BaaS system. So that's eBay. And then we have the League of Kingdom, which is a L2 gaming platform by Arena Z or Not Games. That's also part of the super chain. We are managing, upgrading, and deploy the chain for them as well. And interestingly enough, the gaming vertical seems to be quite big. I do have a few stats as well in the next upcoming slides, but yeah, gaming seems to be pretty hot when it comes to launching your own chains. I'll be talking more about that in a couple of minutes. Right, a few more use cases. For example, we have Decentraland, which uses Gelato for gasless trading as well. They're using Gelato Relay under the hood. And like I mentioned, Infinex, they're using Gelato Relay. for gasless transactions, for also with ERC4237 for account creation and switching. Then we have Aave, which is making use of Web3 functions for reward distribution. And GMX is also making use of Gelato Relay under the hood for gasless trading and for their perplex exchange. Right, so now that we have covered up all the basics about Gelato, let's talk about the state of L2s right now. Right, so we are seeing pretty much an uptick of roll-ups being launched, after like 2023, 2024, and then now that we are actually in 2025, we are seeing there's obviously going to be more and more change launching. But if you see that the gaming vertical has a pretty big chunk of the share of the chains launching, so that's a very big vertical as well, followed by DeFi. I mean, we all know that we all see that DeFi chains are being launched and ecosystem chains and all that, but gaming seems to be, interestingly enough, a pretty big vertical. And gaming, obviously, is a pretty big vertical, but every major app and ecosystem or an enterprise is launching an L2. So let's take a look at alt L1s, for example. Lisk, for example, Astar or LF0. They were alt L1s, but now they're recently moved to L2s. So for example, Lisk, part of the OP superchain as well. LF0, for example. Now, and then apps, for example, like Uniswap, WorldCoin, Frax, and Rhea, they also moved to L2s. Then enterprise chains like Inc., Coinbase, and Fox also moved to an L2. And then games, for example, like League of Kingdoms and Proof of Play, yeah, they're also moving to L2s as well. And the interesting thing about games is that they don't really, so the reason why they need their own L2 is because they're looking forward for high throughput and more scalability. And it might be the case that they don't really care about security that much from Ethereum point of view, but yeah, they're looking to accommodate all the users for their game. So yeah, that's the take. So yeah, so now that we're here, so like I mentioned initially that the motivation of this talk, does it really make sense to have your own L2, right? So yeah, we were seeing over here that you spend either $40 million a year to run your own chain, or you spend $0 to run your own chain and build on Sonic, right? So yeah, I'm going to be walking you over that, and we're going to be arguing against it, and pretty much try to break down things over here that it doesn't really cost $40 million to run your own chain. And let's take a look at the cost breakdown over here based on these tweets that went out on Twitter a couple months ago. So here are the realistic costs, given that you want to have a full suite of infra, right? So you have the chain with basic uses, right? You're going to have the block explorers, you're going to have the RPCs, right? And then you're going to have the Oracle network support. Then you're going to need like account abstraction services, let's say. Then you're going to need multi-sig support for, let's say, smart contract deployment and upgradability. Then you're going to need the bridging as well, apart from the canonical bridge, the indexings as well, and let's say a few automation services. So this full suite of service comes to about close to $20,000, right? So this is $18,500, which is not $14 million, right? It's still expensive, but it's not $14 million. So let's say if you haven't raised a round or so, it probably doesn't make sense. But if you have actual usage and if you have actual users, then it might be worth for you to actually go ahead and try to launch your own chain. So yeah, there are a few drawbacks as well of launching your own chain, which would be that you have to pay these variable costs. And what that means is that with the DA and with the settlement, when you're posting transactions back to the L1 or L2, assuming that you're an L3, but that doesn't really make any, there's no significant cost for L3s, but assuming you're an L2, you gotta post transactions back to Ethereum. And these are the variable costs where you're supposed to pay for transactions. So that's a variable cost. Then you have this lack of atomic composability. And what that means is that given that you have your own chain, and if you work closely with, let's say, Aave or Compound, for example, then it's not really composable because it's supposed to have the protocol deployed on your chain as well. And your users will essentially have to bridge assets to your chain. And obviously there'll be a lack of native support for on-ramp, and yeah, there's going to be some, no native support for the centralized exchanges or the Circle USDC, for example. And yeah, there's going to be lack of L1-like grants. So there are drawbacks as well, obviously, but for the benefits of launching your own chain, that would mean that if you have your own chain, then you're going to be making revenue from transactions. So previously, I mentioned that you have to pay these variable costs for DA and settlements, but that can actually be, you can actually make revenue from transactions, right? And you can actually take a margin for each transactions and from your users and pay for the DA and the settlement costs. And you can actually make revenue from transactions sequencing as well. So that means capturing MEV. And yeah, so if you take a look at Ethereum POS, $800 million got leaked since Ethereum. And yeah, basically, if you take a look at revenue from Unichain, for example, or Unreal, it's basically close to, this is the profitability of Real. So it's close to about revenue. So the revenue is about close to $20,000. That's from August 2024. So as you can see that it's going up. And these are the settlement costs that keep decreasing. And basically, you can actually customize this as well as you move. So that's an advantage. I'll be talking more about that in this slide, which is, yeah, basically it's your chain, it's your own rules. So you can do your own block building as well. You can push your Oracle prices at the top of each block. And like I mentioned, you can configure your rollup for maximum security and for maximizing security and minimizing costs. And this means that tweaking around with the block times, the block gas limits, the settlement layers, etc. Obviously, there are a few optimized configurations which you have to be aware of, but at the end of the day, you can configure it yourself. And you can decide on bridging as well. The interesting thing about bridging is that only 1/3 of the users, let's say if they have a chain, they make use of the canonical bridge, which is the enshrined bridge given to you by, let's say, the OP Stack or Orbit. But the 2/3 of the transaction of the assets coming into chains for my customers, they're actually done by third-party bridge providers. So yeah, you can decide on bridging, on which bridge should be used. It doesn't necessarily have to be the canonical bridge provided. And with this, having your own chain, you can actually manage or upgrade and decide which feature should be used, right? So let's say with the current Pectra upgrade, for example, 7702, that's currently in the hands of the ETH Foundation to actually implement and upgrade the chain. But having your own chain, you can actually, implement it yourself. I mean, that's just an example, obviously, that's, a scenario that I'm just making up. But yeah, that's just an example. And pretty much you can build horizontally sharded apps that live on multiple elastically created chains. So yeah, pretty much your chains, your rules, and you can configure it the way that you like. So yeah, who should actually launch their own chain? Like I mentioned, you should deploy an L2 if you expect a lot of users and if you expect a lot of MEV. But given that you haven't raised a round and you don't really have any users and you don't really have any money, then you should probably consider going ahead and deploying and building on an existing chain. So yeah, that's the thing. And pretty much, let's go ahead and talk about what if Web3 actually looked quite similar to Web2. So what does that mean? So that means that currently we are seeing a trend in the market where launching your own rollups is significantly getting cheaper as the time progresses. So that means maybe over the time, you can actually run an L2 for $185 a month. And this will go down 100x from over here. And pretty much everyone has their own server. And think of it like Supabase, for example, where you can just quickly, instantly spin up the instance for your backend, for example. This will also be doable with rollups as well, with your own blockchains. And you pay for usage with the Vercel-like UX. So you just deploy your app, and in the background, you infinitely run the horizontal scalable blockchains. And yeah, another something that could happen is that the 80% of the liquidity would be from the few bank chains, and they will take care of the liquidity provided to the chain. So most of the chains are going to be app chains, and pretty much they use this liquidity from these bank chains that are there to provide liquidity to all these apps. And yeah, so basically Gelato is by developers for developers. To sum it up, you build your own chain. You can actually configure your Arbitrum or Orbit stack with your own OP stack L2, or with your own Avalanche L1, or the own in-house ABC stack L1. You can set up your own DX with all the global RPC nodes, basically bundling everything up, connect your chain with the bridging, and set up native yield and secure your chain with verifier nodes. And you can extend your app with all these add-ons like account abstraction, Gelato functions, verifiable randomness, and access to price feed using Gelato oracles. And yeah, that's pretty much the slide. So yeah, let's build together. Let me know if you have any questions regarding rollups, and thank you so much for your time.